If you can't make it to Broadway, we're bringing Broadway to you each and every week right here on The Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. I'm so glad you're joining us. Oh Mary is Broadway's reigning queen of comedy, and now it's your last chance to see Tony nominee Conrad Ricamora before a star-studded new cast joins the show. We had a chance to chat. Let's talk about the show and your role in particular. Can you explain it to people who may have not seen the show?
Yeah.
And shame on them.
I'm playing Mary's husband in Oh Mary. And we all know who Mary's husband is. It's a madcap, unexpected show, and I never thought I would be playing Abraham Lincoln. I mean, literally 4 weeks after we closed Here Lies Love, I started rehearsal for Oh Mary.
I didn't know that. So you knew all along. How long in did you know you were going to be doing it?
When we got our closing notice, Sam, the director, who was the choreographer on the show Soft Power that I did, called me up and was like, I hear your show's closing, I'm so sorry, but would you want to come in and read with Cole? And I'd been a fan of Cole's since their YouTube videos and one-person shows at Joe's Pub. So I was like, yes, I love Cole's comedy.
Are you having an incredible time every night, day and night?
Yeah, it is one of the most maddening things to try to contain Cola Scola's Mary Todd Lincoln every single night, because she is so wild. Investing in that, the reality of, I've got to try to get this crazy wild animal to behave.
Right.
And then accepting the fact that I fail, but then showing up at the theater the next day and being like, I'm gonna do it tonight. No, I'm gonna make her I'm gonna get her under control tonight. Tonight's the night that I'm gonna win. Just losing constantly.
Right.
Yeah.
You keep coming back.
Keep coming back, and it's such a nice thing. I don't get to laugh myself, but to know that I'm giving that laughter every night to an audience at a time where there's not a lot to laugh about feels so great right now.
You have done such a variety. What is this like, a comedic role like this?
Oh, it feels like I'm getting to explore parts of myself and my craft that I've never been able to explore before. Laughter is such a funny thing because it's an involuntary response that an audience has. So, it's different from doing, like I did Here Lies Love, which, was a big party and then was a tragedy by the end of the show. And to now be feeling the feedback every, in Oh Mary, it's very often that the audience is just dying with laughter. And so to be feeling that feedback constantly is a really cool thing to feel, and then also negotiate performance-wise, being like, okay, it peaks and then I come in with my next line so that there's allowing time for laughter and then allowing time to keep moving.
How quickly you do that.
Yeah.
How quickly do you always wonder about that? Because it's like you're starting the line while that laughter is coming to wherever it is.
Yeah.
And you don't want to cut off your line, right?
No, yeah. Well,
it's really a dance.
Yeah, and there are different species of laughter, I've learned.
What does that mean?
Well, because there's laughter that is like the huge belly laughs from something. There are moments in the show where people, before they laugh, they go, and then there are other moments of suspense that I can think about in the show where it's like, where the audience is like, it's like if you're playing peekaboo with a baby and the baby's like, and then you go, ah, and then the baby goes, ah, but learning those little
right.
So it's like, yeah.
That you're hearing all that and you're so aware of it, I think is just beautiful.
Well, it's taught me a lot.
Yeah.
That there is no one way to laugh. There's just an infinite ways of laughing, and we get to hear it every night in the audience. It's so cool.
It's time to take a walk with a Broadway star, so let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
L. Stephen Taylor.
Yeah.
You're here with us, and we're about to walk you to work.
Thank you.
We're not in front of your show, but we're gonna get there.
I appreciate it.
Listen, I had to wear these pants specifically for this show because, who better to wear it for than Mufasa?
Come on, school colors. I'm with it. And the heel.
Okay?
Okay. Love it.
Listen, so you have the most iconic role on Broadway, coveted role as Mufasa. You've been doing this for a decade.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about just how this walk feels for you every single day.
I mean, it's historic, right? It's like you look up and down Broadway, you see these marquees, you know, like the weight and the gravity and the history. It's like I really do anyway. I feel it like every single time I get to walk to work.
As someone who's done this for so long, if you were to have a time capsule where you could put something in it that just represents your journey as Mufasa, what would that thing be?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I mean, it would probably be, there's this picture of my son and me when I first joined the company, and he came to the stage door to visit me in between shows. He was 3 years old, and it's like one of my favorite pictures. And I would probably put that in there because I always kind of gauge where I am in this show and like how far I've come, you know, through with how my son has grown up, and he's 23 years old now.
Oh my God.
So it's like 20, you know, being in the show for 20 years, I will put that in the time capsule just because that represents, you know, not only where I started, but also it's like a visual representation of like how far I've come.
You're talking about your impact on your son, but you make an impact on hundreds of kids through the program that you tap into through Disney.
Yeah.
You go into schools, you really show them the joy of theater.
Yeah.
And I want to know a little bit more about what that's been like for you. And I don't know if there's like a student who's said something to you that's just stuck with you.
Yeah, it's, you know, Disney Musicals in Schools is a program that you're talking about. And it's just a really important program to me because my degree is actually in early childhood. So I taught preschool for a long time. So being able to, you know, bring some of that background, and I really love teaching. And I feel like, I always tell everybody, I feel like the classroom is like one of the biggest stages that you can possibly have.
So good.
And then it's like, there's something that you tap into as a teacher that I feel like we search for as actors. It's like that discovery. So as a teacher, I was able to kind of, get that every single day. And there was one time that there was a kid who was doing Mufasa in their school, Disney Junior production of Lion King. And it was a little girl who was playing Mufasa. And it was like, that was, you know, that was really cool. And I was able to like, just kind of look at that through that little girl's eyes and bring some of that to the to the stage with me that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like I love that crossover and that intersection of you know, education and the arts.
Can we talk a little bit about your new book and finding that inner lion? I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Yeah, Sammy and His Lion is one of my favorite things to do as a teacher was always to read to my students. And so something to mark my 20th anniversary with the show, I wanted to just kind of incorporate all of the avenues of my life that kind of brought me to this point. And so I wrote this book, Sammy and His Lion. It's about this little kid, Sammy, who is having some anxiety about his first day of school. And so his dad teaches him to tap into and channel his inner lion as a metaphor for just tackling any kind of adversity that he might be up against. So this is the first book in a series, and it really like kind of, you know, like speaks to who I am as a father, or who I'd like to be as a father. Also speaks to my, you know, my time here with the show, and then as a teacher as well.
David Corns has designed some of the most iconic Broadway sets in recent memory. Hamilton, Beetlejuice, Dear Evan Hansen, and more. Now David's work is taking center stage at the Museum of Broadway for a limited time only. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Hi, David.
Hi.
What does it feel like to have your imagination on display at the Museum of Broadway? The whole thing.
So bizarre. It's so bizarre because it's not my imagination. I have a little sign out there that you see before you come in saying there is no such thing as a set designed by David Corns, and I believe that. I think what's so amazing and kind of out of body about this is that a set design is like an aggregation of hundreds and hundreds of decisions by hundreds and hundreds of people. What's so amazing is that there are quotes and contributions from people in my studio who I've been working with for years. There's like assistants and associates and illustrators and model makers and all the writers and composers and lots of the other members of the creative team and even actors are all talking about what it's like to make a set design. And it's really bizarre to have it all back in Times Square after it's been in the rehearsal rooms, in the theaters, and then all across the country.
Can you believe Hamilton opened on Broadway almost 10 years ago?
No, I can't.
And when you look at the Hamilton display, what comes to mind? Because you had no idea it would be this juggernaut.
So Hamilton has been this kind of like glowing, extraordinary road, and it's 10 years and seemingly getting stronger. It's been like a job of a lifetime, and it continues to go, right? We continue to kind of innovate. But when I look at the display, I see the original off-Broadway model. I see the notes that I took going into my interview with Tommy Kail. And in those little scribbles, you can see the pitch of the turntable, you can see the pitch of the Winter's Ball. I can hear in my head Tommy saying, no turntable. And then 8 months later, we found a turntable again. But all of those little things, I mean, right there on the script, it says the Hamilton Mixtape. That's what that show was called when I interviewed for it. And now it really is a movement, right? Kind of like, it was the thing that really crossed over and made theater cool again and put it right in the center of the conversation. And then the next year, Dear Evan Hansen happened, and so it was sort of a bang bang all across the country. It was great.
This is the script, the front of the script.
Yeah, this is the Hamilton Mixtape script. I got this, even though I had done many shows with Tommy, he said, I want you to interview for this job, and I took it very, very seriously, and I took all of these notes on my way in to kind of have a conversation with him. And there are the beginnings of, this is the turntable, here's a couple of different versions of how I thought we could open the show. I thought we could start with the Founding Fathers up on a podium and they would lower down and all these different things. And this is the beginning of the Winter's Ball. And really, like, if these notes hadn't happened and the conversation didn't happen, we wouldn't be standing here. I'd probably be like a barista in Massachusetts or something.
Right.
But
yeah, definitely.
These, I wanted to just like, you know, open up the kimono and show some really embarrassing stuff. But they're kind of important because they get you to the place where I think you need to be.
Did you ever think that the Beetlejuice couch would be such a fan magnet? Because that's what we're sitting on right now.
Oh, I mean, you know, I get more people sliding into my DMs about the Beetlejuice couch than anything else. You should start a line of furniture, you know, all this stuff. In the real show, this has a trampoline in it because all the Beetlejuice clones, you know, use it to do gymnastics.
You didn't want that in the museum. You didn't want people to...
I just felt like it would be inappropriate for people to be bouncing up and down on this thing. But you can see the cast use it on Broadway because it's coming back for a third time, which is such a weird, fortuitous thing. You sort of put these shows, or at least the objects that you make to make the show, you sort of put them to bed, and then the shows live on. But it's weird that we have 5 shows profiled here, and 2 of them are like raging strong on Broadway still. Yeah, you'll get to see this thing in real action. You know, when you come to the Museum of Broadway, you get to like have it in sort of action.
Is there one of these shows that really challenged you, that you think about still, that really changed you even as a designer?
Here Lies Love, which was the first one I started working on and the last one to open on Broadway. It took us about 14 years. I mean, you and I had a conversation in that theater. That one was omnidirectionally challenging.
Right, because you reconfigured the whole theater.
Yeah, I mean, it was like we ripped out all the seats, we did the thing. It was the first show ever to have, you know, 300 people standing up and moving during the show. I was looking at the statistics. There's a little board over there that like talks about the stats, how many linear feet of cable, how many light cues, all that stuff. And everything about that show was 5 times bigger than any show that ever happened. So that was a challenge. It also was a 14-year-long challenge. It's weird, like I have, you know, children younger than that show.
This is a Broadway show, and we're back in just a few.
Happy 25th anniversary, Broadway.com.
By the time this ad is over, you could have already booked your ticket to Oz, Chicago, Hell's Kitchen, or The Room Where It Happens. For 25 years, Broadway.com has been the most trusted name in theater tickets. With lightning fast checkout, legendary customer service, award-winning content. Because Broadway isn't the add-on to your trip to New York. It's the reason for it. Broadway.com, your ticket to Broadway for 25 years.
Welcome back to the Broadway show. I'm Tamsin Fidel. Let's get back to it.
And no matter where and how far you drive, people
People say you're different when you arrive.
Maybe Happy Ending won big at the Tony Awards, including the top prize, Best New Musical and Best Actor in a Musical for Darren Criss. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Many, many years ago when I first met you, when you were doing How to Succeed, you said, the thing I want to do is an original musical.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to be in a role and be able to not just drop in for a few weeks. I want to bask in being in a Broadway show. And now that to me is the dream you really wanted. And now you're like so deep into a run.
Yeah.
So how great does that feel?
That really is, talk about the W, what the win is. It's one of the greatest possible things that could be happening in my life. Professionally, personally, creatively, emotionally, spiritually, all the things that I've said in the past and will continue to say for the rest of my life. You know, there's a moment in our show where Oliver's trying to catch a firefly. This is a great little comparison. And Claire says, just stand still, right? And there's a lot of poetry to that, of like, just staying your course and letting those fireflies kind of show up in front of you and making it something that is much more easy to, because we are most of our lives like running around trying to grab these moments. And I think a lot of the really sort of serendipitous, most memorable, beautiful, remarkable moments in our life are the ones that we kind of stood still for, and then they kind of just appeared and coalesced in a really organic way. The gratitude and joy that I have of getting to originate this was already fun to get to make something new, which was, as I said to you many years ago, the dream. But the fact that other people have taken to it as much as I have is like, I can't believe it. When you think of all of our favorite shows and the sort of iconography that their songs and images and feelings have in our lives, those are really unique, and they stand out to a way that I go, oh my God, am I part of one of those moments? And I credit the show for that, and I just thank my lucky stars that, again, that this firefly just kind of showed up, and in the perfect time in my life where I'm just overwhelmed with joy and gratitude.
It takes a lot of people to keep a Broadway show running, from the stars on stage to the orchestra in the pit and all the people behind the scenes. Here's Perry Sook.
We are here inside the Lyric Theater with one of the esteemed ushers for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Chin Ho Fung. Chin Ho, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, nice to meet you. It's happy to be here.
What is your day-to-day like as an usher here at the Lyric?
It's crazy. I mean, like, first of all, we check in, we sign ourselves in, and we also make sure that we change into our uniforms. And afterwards, we get to check at the front desk to see which track we're at. So we're either usually a lobby track, a orchestra track, a dress circle track, or a balcony track. And so today I'm actually up here in the dress circle, so you're gonna see me working around here today. And then we just station where we are and do what we need to do.
You know, that must keep it fun. Are there any of the tracks you enjoy more than others?
I actually really enjoyed the orchestra track, simply because as an actor myself, I get to basically see the show right up front, anywhere I want in the orchestra, which is nice, especially when I'm working in front of the orchestra. It's super nice because I just get to watch the actors on stage for the whole show in like row one.
What is it like getting to sit there and see the reactions of these people right in front of you while this magic is happening?
I mean, I think that's the best part about working here. Sometimes it's not only watching the show, but watching how every audience reacts to different shows. Like, we'd have kids screaming about how crazy it was. We'd have even parents, adults going, oh my God, how did they do that? I think that is what makes this job even more exciting, because yes, we get to watch a Broadway show pretty much every day, but also seeing how people react is just amazing to me.
The screwball spy caper Operation Mincemeat is one of Broadway's most fun shows, and the musical's breakout star, Jack Malone, won the Tony this year for his performance. Here's an exclusive musical performance from the Broadway.com studio.
Dear Bill, I'm afraid I've not got long to write. I'm off to Mary's, you know how she feels about bridge night. It's been a few days. I thought that I'd send a few lines. Next door's greyhound came into the garden this morning. I think he likes the roses. They're doing fine. I used some twine to tie them up and rein them in. I hope they'll bloom next spring. But you'll see that for yourself. I'm following the instructions you left in your note. Please devote all your time to their care. And I have done, I swear. Except for the talking, I'm not going to do that. 'Cause talking to roses is mad and you knew that. When you whispered sweet nothings to flowers to make my dad cross and me laugh, and it did. And why did we meet in the middle of a war? What a silly thing for anyone to do. Your sister sends her love.
And that's going to do it for us. But for tickets, or if you want to see extended cuts of all the interviews, head over to Broadway.com. And be sure to check out The Broadway Show Uncut wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tamsen Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.